Hello, Vanguard community. Today is Tuesday, July the 28th, 2020, and this is Doing Things Differently and Learning Something New. I'm Jennifer Methvin, and it's my privilege to serve as the Chancellor of Arkansas State University in Beebe. Welcome to the show today. A few episodes back, I told you that my next guest would be Professor Eddie Supratman, and then his schedule got complex, my schedule got complex, and we're a couple weeks past when we promised to have him here. But he is here with us now, one of our faculty members who's very, very experienced in all things technology. And Eddie, why don't you tell folks a little bit about yourself?
Okay, hello, my name is Eddie Supratman, and I'm originally from Indonesia, and my wife is from Trinidad, one of the Caribbean islands, and she and I both we were naturalized as U.S. citizen back about 5 years ago, and we have 4 boys, and we've been blessed with those 4 children. And I've been teaching probably since 2003, and I've been blessed being able to be a part of ASU-Beebe family since 2008. So I teach mainly world history classes, and also a class under sociology called comparative religion.
Very good. Well, I'm glad you're here with me today because, as I mentioned, you've got quite a bit of experience using technology and using that technology for quite some time already to help our students see other parts of the world. And I know that has impacted what you've done this spring. So everyone's familiar with our format. We do 5 questions. We kind of keep it to about 15 minutes. And we're just trying to figure out, in this public health crisis, what is there to learn that could make us better? So Eddie, if you will, just start by talking about, for the spring semester, we went to remote instruction, early on in March. We're preparing for that this fall. Should we have to go remote more than we want to, we're preparing to pivot to that. Tell me what's been the most challenging for you and what have been some of the innovative things you have done in instruction for your students.
Okay, so for me, I'm used to teach online classes and internet assisted and face-to-face. So it wasn't really a drastic change for me on my part as far as teaching. I could easily migrate those online content to face-to-face content via Canvas. But I think for me, the most challenging part is trying to reassure my students that, hey, everything will be okay. We are in it together. And I think for me, keep sending them that constant message. And I'm here for you. You can have virtual office hours. You can Zoom, we can chat, we can talk. If you don't want me to see your face, just mute. That's fine. We can talk on the phone. But I think for me, especially for my non-traditional students who are not used to online technology, it was a bit struggle for them. And as a instructor, I need to be flexible enough. Hey, that's fine if you're late. I know you're taking care of your kids, and they also went AMI. So therefore, for me, having that flexible, and they really appreciate that. And being able to say, hey, that's fine. You can turn in a couple of days late, and we can work out the schedule as long as you do your work and turn your assignments. Okay. So part of that is just to reassure them that everything will be just fine.
Yes, because you're exactly right. As we were going through the shock of it all, our students certainly were going through the shock of it all. And I heard so many times students said to me, this is not what I signed up for. And we had to answer, well, it's not what we signed up for either, but let's take it a step at a time. I appreciate that. Well, do you think, Eddie, that we're learning anything, you personally or us as an institution, that'll make us better and stronger as we move forward?
I think we'll learn a lot. And one of the things that for me, and I think for everyone, that we really need to do a better job in our soft skills and our customer service, right? If we get frustrated, our students get frustrated. If we get frustrated with distance learning or other departments, it doesn't help the situation. It creates more chaos. And I think for all of us, we really need to learn how to work as a team instead of pointing fingers, and let me be the one to initiate, what can I do to help? And I think another thing that we can learn is how we can improve our Canvas online delivery. And I know distance learning through Daphne and Stephanie have done a fantastic job, but they're only two people.
Right.
And so we really need to do our job. They're getting 100 emails per day, but we need to do whatever we can, and also to help other colleagues. If you are good at Canvas and other things, hey, be that point of contact person. That will alleviate distance learning to do the job that they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Well, you and several of your colleagues have taken that role very well, and I know your colleagues, and I too am very appreciative of that. It was very gratifying to watch faculty teaching and learning from one another in the spring. And it's not bad to remind us every now and then that we are learners too. Well, you mentioned your beautiful, beautiful family, and those wonderful boys. I just love seeing when you guys are on campus and you have your wife and your boys with you. I'm sure this has also been a little personally challenge to you. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, for me, from academic point of view, not seeing my students, and I miss seeing them. Every semester I have about 200 students, and online and on campus. But for me, the interactions that I would have with my students in class and outside of class especially, that's one thing I miss. Even though I welcome them to email me and contact me, we can do Zoom, we can do different things, but they're also busy with their own lives, their own families. So one of the things I really miss is having those conversations, meaningful conversations with my students. But as far as for me doing it from home, and I love being with my family members. Of course, all of my children, when they went AMI, everybody was busy with a Chromebook and things like that. But as far as the quality time, it really helps me to reflect on my own personal life. Just sometimes it's just nice to take your time and be still, and maybe just having fun going fishing outside when I'm not teaching.
Yeah. You echo things that several people have talked about ironically, being home so much with our families has made us appreciate our time with our families, but it's also muddied up the work day from the personal day a little bit. And we've all got to be very, very mindful to say, this is the end of work. I can stop here now and let me be present with my family without work for a minute. And that's been a challenge, I think, to some. To me, it's been a challenge, I think, to others as well. Well, very good. Well, I always allow my guests to ask me a question as well. So what's your question of me?
Yes, ma'am. I know we focus a lot on student success, but if there is one thing that you as a chancellor expect of us as faculty members as we begin fall 2020 in the midst of COVID, what would that be?
Yeah, so that is such a great question, and I think I would have multiple answers. If you could ask me every day, I might have a new answer every day. But one of the things that I have come to realize, and I hope faculty are coming to realize with me, is that we're all content experts, and we have things in our content area that is just exceptionally important to us that we impart to our students. And so much so that sometimes we become gatekeepers. I will confess to being a gatekeeper for the semicolon. When I was in the classroom, it just was terribly important to me. But one of the things that I have seen happening through the pandemic is we've been able to model for our students why those soft skills that you mentioned are so important. and we've been able to perhaps be a little bit more of mentors to our students because they've been a little upset and a little panicky, and some of those life coaching kind of things that we sometimes get so caught up in our content area that we forget to model that side of professionalism and empathy and compassion for fellow human beings with our students. We forget, and that's a wonderful, wonderful gift that faculty can give to students. is an appreciation of one another, a patience of one another, the ability to listen to one another. And maybe I could have, when I was in the classroom, given up a little more, a little less time on the semicolon or on Macbeth or something like that was so important to me, and spent a little bit more time being a coach, a mentor, helping my students grow in a profession, and particularly grow in the appreciation and understanding of other human beings, that you can learn something from everybody. I see you all do that so very well, and I particularly saw it this spring as we tried to, as you said, keep our students calm, keep them in class, keep them engaged in this very, very different environment. So I hope that continues to be a place that we can grow as an institution. That's a great question. I'm gonna try to think of that question every day for the next 4 or 5 and clarify that for myself. That's pretty good. Well, all right. Well, Eddie, I always like to ask my guests what they see as the silver lining in this situation. I know as we head toward the fall, as I said, today's July 28th, the date of these recordings has been important to me because this is sort of research for me about what we can be learning. And as we get closer to fall, we're beginning to get anxious again. What are the health conditions going to be like? What are we going to do as our students walk into the halls and we ask them to stay 6 feet apart? What do we do when the student pulls their mask down for a minute? And all those things are creating a great deal of anxiety. But despite all that, there has to be silver linings here, So for you, what are some of the silver linings, whether it's for our nation, for you personally, for ASU-Beebe? What are the silver linings here?
Well, one thing that really stands out for me is a constant reminder that life is so fragile, that the global crisis is reminding us that our life is so vulnerable, and we as human beings, and in the eyes of the world, we are all different, but in the eyes of the virus, we are just the same. And it really reminds me of a verse from the book of Psalm, chapter 90, verse 12, that says to teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. That is, the lesson is that for us not to take our lives for granted, and early in the spring for us not to take toilet paper for granted, for example, right? So for me personally, we take it one day at a time, and for me personally, I want my life, my actions, and my words really to reflect the glory of God. That's what I live for every day.
Yeah, that's a pretty good silver lining there. Yeah, I enjoy that. Well, Eddie, as always, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. You're one of the most optimistic people I know, and do so many of the things that we ask of our faculty to do with students. You do it so well. Interactive learning, your classroom is the definition of active learning. And I want to thank you for taking time with us today. And I appreciate everybody who's following the series. Again, this is just about us at ASU-Beebe learning what we can from the current public health crisis, because we are doing things differently. And so I look forward to having y'all with me next time. Thanks for joining me today.